Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today at Pismo State Beach for a read-along this morning. On the screen in front of you right now, we just have some really cool, important things to share with you. First of all, maybe this is your first program. Maybe you've seen a couple of these. If you want a full list of all of our Ports home learning programs, you can visit www.ports-ca.us, like you see right there, that website. Now, this is a live broadcast, but today we don't have an option for Q&A. So any questions pop in your minds and I can't answer them right now, wait until the end. Maybe I'll answer them as I'm talking. But if I don't, you can visit www.padlet.com/oceanodunes/questions. And at that website, you can type in your questions and we'll answer them for you. Now, something really cool that you can do today, and I'll give you a couple of seconds to go maybe get a piece of paper, something to draw with, like a pencil, markers, paint, crayons, anything you want. And while I'm talking with you today, while we're learning, if you want to draw, if something inspires you to draw a picture, or maybe write a sentence or something that's your favorite thing, you can go ahead and do so. So why don't you go ahead, get your supplies right now. Maybe you can even wait to the end of our program to draw something. And if you do make some art, you can have a parent or a guardian post them for you. Be sure to tag @PortsProgram, and you can use the hashtag PortsFan or PortsFanArt to get featured on our pages. And we love to see your artwork, so we highly encourage that. I'm gonna take this off our screen now. I'll show it again at the end. So now you're seeing Pismo State Beach, and we are live here, which means you can see the ocean waves coming in. You'll be able to see some people walking, probably, maybe some birds flying, maybe even a ranger truck drive behind me while I'm talking. Okay, let's move this around. You know what? Let's just get a little bit of a look. I'm going to show you the beach we're at right now. Can you guys see how gray the skies are this morning? That's okay. It's a little cold, but we're still going to have fun. Guess what's over here? Here's my check. That's what I drove in. Did you guys know that Pismo State Beach and Oceano Dunes SPRA are the only places where you can drive on the beach? Okay, let's move this around. Hi, everyone. I am so excited to be with you all today. I wish I could be with you in person, but this is the second best thing. My name is Michelle, and I work for California State Parks in the Oceano Dunes District. And you can tell I work for California State Parks because I wear these patches. Now, before we begin, we're just going to take some deep breaths. We're going to take 2 deep breaths. Are you guys ready? Okay, here's our first one. We're just going to calm down, get focused. Ready for our second one? You guys ready? Okay, so we don't have a Q&A like I mentioned. However, there is a raise your hand button on the bottom of your screen down there. I see some hands are raised already. We can give it a try. Okay, I am going to lower all hands, okay? So I'm gonna ask a question, we're gonna test it. You ready? Okay. So I'm live at Pismo State Beach. Raise your hand. You can put your hand in the air, but also raise your hand by pressing the button down there if you've been to Pismo State Beach before. Let's see what hands you have. A lot of hands. Awesome. Okay. I'm going to lower our hands. Great. Okay, guess what we're going to get to do today? Well, Pismo State Beach, first of all, I don't know if anyone knows this, but we are famous for the Pismo Clam. And today I'm going to read a Cat in the Hat book to you guys today. Let me grab it. Here it is. It's called Clam I Am. And after I read this book, I am going to take you guys a little closer to the water, because not only are we going to learn a little bit about clams, we're going to learn about other animals that we can see along the shoreline, and just things that you can find on the beach. Raise your hand if you like the beach. Oh, I see lots of hands raised. That is so great. Okay, should we start? Okay, Clam I Am, and this is written by Tish Ray. I'm gonna be asking some questions while I'm reading, so be prepared to raise your hand. Okay. Hello, I'm the fish. To the beach let us go. The Fish Channel asked me to star in a show. So here's our little fish. He's gonna be the star today. It is called Fish and Friends. You can be in it too. Your mother will not mind at all if you do. And there's our Cat in the Hat. Raise your hand if you've read a Cat in the Hat book before. I love them. Today on our show, we're off to explore where the sea meets the sand at the edge of the shore. Here where the waves crash in bubbles of foam, you'll meet lots of creatures who call the beach home. Meet my friend, Clam I Am. She would like to say hi. She lives in the sand. She's a little bit shy. Clam I Am has two shells. They have rings. You see here, rings show how much she has grown every year. See this hole in the sand? Well, thing one and I know, it means there's a clam in the sand down below. A clam has one foot that helps it move about. Clams pull salt water in and spit salt water out. Okay, I have a clamshell with me today, you guys. And how we can see right there, clams actually live under the sand a little bit, right in that area in our intertidal zone. So let me get my clamshell. And we just learned, see these rings here? We just learned, the Cat in the Hat told us that each ring represents a different year of its life. So we can count how old a clam is by counting the rings, sort of like how we can count, we know how old trees are by counting the rings. Same sort of thing. So very cool. And clams have two shells. This is just half of one. They have two shells, and they have a little foot that comes down here, and that's the little foot helps them dig down into the sand, like that. And then they have two siphons that come up like this. One siphon pulls water in, and the other spits the water back out. And that's how they pull food into their bodies. Okay.
Hello, horseshoe crab. How did he get his name? His shell and a horseshoe are both shaped the same. His shell shields his body from any attack. His eyes are in front, his tail is in back. Now, horseshoe crabs are mainly on the East Coast, so we probably won't see them here. He has 4 eyes, but he can't see very well. To find food, he is helped by his keen sense of smell. They're not really crabs. Every crab has antennae. Look closely, you'll see horseshoe crabs don't have any. So they don't have antennae like crabs do, so they're not really a crab. Hermit crabs don't have shells, so they look till they find empty shells on the sand that have been left behind. Then they drag these new shells everywhere they go. When the shells get too tight, they need more room to grow. Has anyone had a pet hermit crab? I had a pet hermit crab. They're a lot of fun. Lots of hands. Awesome. So each crab starts to hunt for a new shell to use. There are lots to be found. It's easy to choose. My next guest is a sea star. He told me today that each of his 5 legs is known as a ray. If a sea star gets hurt and it loses a ray, a new ray begins to grow back right away. What does that remind you of? That reminds me of lizards. Do you guys know that lizards can lose their tail if they have to run away from something that might be trying to eat them? And then they grow it back. So that reminds me of a lizard. So just like a lizard, a sea star might lose one of their rays, but it'll grow back. Has anyone seen a sea star in a tide pool before? Lots of hands. They're so cool. But we have to remember to not pull them off the rocks. We're going to learn why on this next page, because it'll hurt them if we pull them off the rock. So we just let them be where they are. Sea stars are quite slow when they move around. Tiny cups on their feet hold them to the ground. These creatures are mollusks. Most have a hard shell. Shells protect their soft bodies and do it quite well. Remember how I said we shouldn't pull them off the rocks? That's because we could be hurting their little feet. Guess what? I have a friend with me today. I have one of our sea stars. Now, this one is not alive right now. It was found by Fish and Wildlife, and now we get to use it to teach with. And I get to show you its little feet on the bottom. Let me try to get close. Okay, so all of these they're like little suction cups when they're alive, and they hold on really tight to the rocks at the bottom of the tide pool. They're very tiny little feet. They move pretty slowly. Do you guys want to learn something else? Right there in the middle, that is actually their milk. So how they eat is they pull their stomachs out of their mouth, and their stomach is out here, and then they sort of wrap that around whatever they're trying to eat, and then they dissolve it, and they pull their stomach back inside of them, and that is how they eat things that are larger than themselves. They digest it first, and then they pull their stomachs back into their mouth right there. That's pretty crazy, right? Okay, let's move on. Seaweed doesn't have roots. It grabs rocks and holds tight. Some seaweed grows up where it gets the sun's light. Some seaweed you'll find grows a lot deeper down. Seaweed can be green, purple, red, pink, or brown. When you pick seaweed up, you'll find creatures like these. They're sandhoppers, which are also known as sand fleas. Raise your hand if you've seen seaweed on the beach and there were little fleas running around it, like hundreds of them. It's sort of weird. Let's get closer. Wow. Okay. Seagulls fly near the ocean. Their cries fill the air. If you're eating your lunch, they're hoping you'll share. We learned about seagulls. Would you ever think seawater is salty, but seagulls can drink it? They're not fussy eaters. They think it's a treat if they find some dead fish or garbage to eat. Sandpipers run with the waves at low tide. They search with their bills to find worms where they hide. After our book, when we walk a little bit closer to the shoreline, we might see some seagulls or maybe some other shorebirds. I'm very excited to show you guys. Now, I do want to say that, can we think right now back to our clams? What might be a predator of a clam? This page sort of gave it away. I want you guys to think for a second. Seagulls will actually eat clams. So now, clams have two really hard shells that are tight. How do you think they eat the clams? And their shells are so hard and tight. What they do is, maybe one of you thought of this, they pick the clams up and they fly up a little higher and then they drop the clams and then the clams will break open. They might have to do it more than once. The clams will break open and then they can eat what's inside. That's pretty crazy. Spend time on the beach and you'll see right away the ocean has high and low tides every day. Tides are caused by the sun and the moon, and I know their forces pull the oceans and make the tides flow. At low tide, the water pulls back from the shore. At high tide, it's back where it started before. A tide table like this makes it easy to see when today's two low tides and two high tides will be. Guess what? I have a tide book with me and we're gonna check what tide it is right now. Here's my tide book. I'm gonna find today's date. Okay, April 16th, it looks like okay. So it was sort of a high tide. It says high tide at 8:30. Oh, just kidding. 6 a.m. And we have our low tide coming in around 12:30. So we're sort of in between high tide and low tide right now. Okay. If you walk on the beach at low tide, you will find all kinds of sea creatures the tide left behind. These clear blobs of jelly, see these clear blobs of jelly? Thing 2 and I fear them. Some jellyfish sting, so we don't go near them. Find a big shell like this, put it to your ear. You might be surprised by the sounds that you hear. Raise your hand, has anyone seen a jellyfish on the beach before? Lots of you have. We have to be careful. Even when we see jellyfish up on the shoreline, like right over there, they can still sting us. So we can't touch them. This tidal pool you will find is a home to creatures who stay here and who never roam. These shells are called barnacles. Watch them right here. When a wave washes over them, threads will appear. These threads are the barnacles' feathery feet. They grab food floating by for this creature to eat. Not far from shore, sand is blown into dunes. Dunes are home to crabs, birds, rabbits, mice, and raccoons. Did you know that we have really big sand dunes here? Raise your hand if you've been out to Oceano Dunes SVRA, where all of our really big sand dunes are. They're like higher than 100 feet. Lots of hands. Awesome. When we go to the beach, we make sure that we take some old sneakers, a pail, a small net, and a rake. We wear our old sneakers without any socks so our feet won't get cut by glass, shells, or rocks. We put what we find in our pail, and then when it's time to go home, we set them free once again. It's very fun to collect things while we're on the beach, but it's very important, especially in our state parks, that we put them back right where we found them and we don't take them off the beach. The next part of my show I call Go Ask the Fish. I will answer 3 questions. Pick one if you wish. Are you ready for the first question? Why is the ocean blue? I'm going to give you guys a couple seconds to maybe think. Why do you think the ocean is blue? Does anyone know? Ocean water is clear. It just looks blue. Here's why. Like a mirror, it shines back the blue from the sky. If you look at the ocean on a dark, cloudy day, it shines back the clouds so the water looks gray. And that's exactly what we have today. That's okay. When we get closer to the water, we'll see that it does look gray because our sky is gray. But if our sky didn't have clouds today and it was nice and blue, the water would look a lot more blue. Okay, here's our second question. Why is seawater salty? Do you guys want to think for a second? Why is seawater salty? Maybe you can share with someone next to you and give them your answer. Why is seawater salty? Raindrops fall from the sky and fill rivers which flow, washing salt off rocks wherever they go. Rivers flow to the ocean, and as the years pass, some water heats up and is turned into gas. The salt in the water is left, and that's why oceans get saltier as time passes by. So rivers that are going over rocks that have salt bring it into the ocean, and that's why our seawater is salty. Raise your hands, or maybe tell the person next to you, have you ever tasted salt water? I have, and it's not very tasty, right? Lots of you have had some salt water in your mouth. Okay, our last question. Are you ready? What makes waves? What makes waves? Do you guys think you know? Tell the person next to you, what do you think actually makes waves? Wind blows over water and small waves then grow. They get bigger and bigger the stronger winds blow. They keep going and growing and head toward the land. Then the waves hit the beach and they crash on the sand. When the strong winds die down, then the waves die down too, until the next time when the wind blows on through. Can you guys say out loud what makes the waves? Tell someone out loud what makes the waves. Do you remember? That's right, it's the wind. It's not very windy today. So when we walk out closer, you'll see the waves aren't very big today. Next, it's shop with the fish. We have gifts from the sea for today, and the gifts are all free. We have pieces of sea glass. The sun makes them glow. They are pieces of that broke long ago. They were tossed by the waves over time. They were ground by the salt and the sand till the edges were round. Raise your hand if you've ever seen sea glass on the beach before. I have some pieces with me. Here are our sea glass pieces. And you'll notice that they aren't sharp, right? I'm touching all the edges and it's not hurting me. Here's a piece of green. Very pretty. So we only want to pick them up or touch them if they don't look sharp anymore. Next page. We have beautiful driftwood, and here's the best part. It's ready-made sculpture, real pieces of art. Tossed by the wind and the waves every day. It was bleached by the sun till it turned a light gray. To make this sand painting, first take colored sand, then for the patterns, let it fall from your hand. Oh dear, our show's over. We must hit the road. Please join us next time for a new episode. Come back to the beach. You'll smell the salt air. Hear the cry of the gull, feel the wind in your hair. You'll find a seashell to hold in your hand, build a high castle, dig your toes in the sand. Everywhere that you look, you'll find creatures galore. When you look even closer, you'll find even more. Okay, you guys, that was the end of the book. Here, I'm going to show you the cover again in case you want to read it again later. Clam I Am. Did you guys like it? Raise your hand if you liked the book we read today. So many of you. I really like Cat in the Hat books. Wow, so many hands. That is great. Are you guys ready to walk along the beach a little bit? We're going to go closer to the water. Maybe see some friends over there. Are you guys ready? Okay, I'm going to move this over. You're going to see my truck again. Okay. Do you guys see the sand? If I see any cool animal tracks, I'll let you guys get closer. So if I turn this way, we have Pismo State Beach running up along the shore that way. And then if you look this way down there, you can't see because it's foggy. That's more of our Oceano Dunes SVRA, where you can ride ATVs when the park is open. We're getting closer to the water. Raise your hand if you can hear the waves crashing. Not very loud today. Oh, I see some interesting bird tracks. Do you guys want to look at them closer? I wonder what kind of bird made those tracks. We're gonna pause here for a second. Let's get even closer to the water. Do you think we should? You might see some friends for a second. We're getting closer. I'm in the hard sand now. Oh wow, do you guys remember when we learned about seaweed in our book? I see some. Let's look closer. There's some seaweed. And look what's right next to it. Some clamshells. Raise your hands if you see those shorebirds. This might be a little blurry. I see some birds. We're gonna get a little closer. See how gray the sky is? Do you remember what that means? That means our ocean is gonna look a little more gray today. Not very blue. And right now, our tides are going back. We're getting closer to our low tide. Okay. Whew, I'm very close to the screen now. Well, our program is all done for today. I hope you guys had fun. I really, really liked being with you guys today, and I loved reading a book to you. Now, I'm going to put back our screen with our links. Okay, so just to recap, we saw this in the beginning, but I'm going to show it to you again. So if you liked learning with us today and you want to watch other programs just like this, you can visit www.ports-ca.us, and on that website you can find a full list of our upcoming programs that you can register just like you did for this one, and you can also look for other resources on that page as well. Now, if you had questions for me that I didn't answer, please visit www.padlet.com/oceanodunes/questions. Please ask any questions there and we'll answer them. And on that Padlet, you can also find other fun things to read and watch. Now, if you drew something, we love looking at your artwork. If you didn't draw anything right now and you want to, maybe you can pull up paper now and draw something that was your favorite part about your time with me today. Maybe something from the book or just something from the beach that you enjoy. And if you want, you can post these and tag @PortsProgram on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, and use the hashtag PortsFan or PortsFanArt to get featured on our pages. Again, we love seeing your artwork. It brings us a lot of joy. Okay, you guys, until next time, thank you so much for spending your morning with me, and I hope you have a wonderful day. See you later.